It feels like every single day a new star running back is popping up on the injury report. And we're only through 4 weeks of the NFL season, and we're already starting waiver wire pickups and bench stashes, and we're praying that Roschon Johnson expands his role. So it's been a little rough to start the season. So on today's episode of the Rest of the Beam podcast, taking into the account that you may be starting some guys that you didn't think you'd be starting, we wanted to give you the only running back rankings you will need to win your Week 4 matchup. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, good friends, fellow owners of ball. You know them all as Keegan Thompson and Aiden Haller. Aiden, we just recorded the wide receiver episode. How you feeling, man?
Doing well. CD just hit a bomb, so that was cool. Nice to see right in the middle of our 2 episodes. We just get to see a nice quick CD eruption. So feeling good, feeling loose, and ready to talk RBs.
Keegan?
Feeling pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I already answered the question in the last episode, but yeah, seeing that CD touchdown come through, I'm not watching it live because I'm a good coworker and I'm remaining focused on the recordings here, but I'll go enjoy seeing that replay later on Twitter.
Wow, he's just dunking on me. In the last episode I've now asked multiple times if Devin Singletary's hurt. So
Sean is trying to host a podcast while worried about his Scamdale Robinson shares and curious how Rico Dowdle's doing.
Hey, yeah, I don't know. I'll turn off the phone. You called me out. Good stuff. Good stuff, Keegan. So the format for today's episode is pretty straightforward. I've ranked the top 47 running backs. I've broken them into 6 tiers. I'm going to take you all through each tier, and I'm going to share guys that I'm higher or lower on versus Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings. As I go through each tier, I'm going to get some feedback here from Aiden and Keegan, and they're going to share some guys that they're excited about or worried about this week. So last week, we unveiled a new ranking system that we labeled the RTM score. This week, I tweaked it a bit to take into account ranks versus raw numbers. So we're going to see fantasy points per game rank, expected fantasy points per game rank, Vegas implied total team rank. So it's going to be a little bit easier to follow along at home. I think the system looks a little bit more directional and more accurate. So I'm excited to see that. And for context, the RTM score, the lower, the better here. And again, if you're looking at these rankings, don't worry about keeping an eye on it all. All of this is going to be in the show notes of this episode. So feel free to click on that, use that at your own disposal. But before we get to running backs, if this is the first time that you've discovered our channel, because I'm sure YouTube maybe suggested us, you saw the thumbnail, you decided to click, dip your toes in, see what we're all about. Aiden, what should those good people at home do?
All right, kick your feet up. You know the deal. If you've been here, kick your feet up, enjoy the show, give us 10, 15, hell, maybe even 20 plus minutes of your time on this lovely called Saturday at this point. Hope you're having a good day here. Maybe grab a Frosty Boy responsibly. And, just let your brain do the thinking, make the decision for you. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. Just let your brain and one cold Frosty Boy lead the way for you.
Amazing.
Love a cold Frosty Boy right now.
Not bad.
Oh, I thought you were... I thought you were talking about a Wendy's Frosty. I was like,
no,
what?
Bro,
Why would someone go to a Wendy's right now? But yes, a Pacifico. Yes, that makes
responsibly.
A Mexican lager. That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
All right, boys, you ready to jump in?
Let's dive in.
All right. Okay, cool. So we're going to start things off with tier 1. I've got 5 running backs in this tier. I've got Saquon Barkley, running back 1, Breece Hall, running back 2, Kyren Williams, running back 3, Devon Achane, running back 4, Bijan Robinson, running back 5. When you're looking at these rankings here, because there's going to be a lot that you're seeing from left to right, we've got implied team total rank. We've got ECR, which is the expert consensus rankings. You have my ranking versus ECR. And then you're going to see fantasy points per game, expected fantasy points per game, efficiency, which is expected fantasy points per game minus fantasy points per game. All in all, you're going to look at this. Just take a look at the RTM score. It takes all of this into account and weights it. So when I'm looking at these rankings, the guy I just want to call out, he's the running back 1, and that is Saquon Barkley. This happened pretty quickly, fellas, but he is the running back 1 in my eyes. It's a pretty good matchup against a banged-up Tampa Bay defense, but I will say these teams like to play slow. So you're going to need some touchdowns probably to hit home because I don't think there's going to be a ton of play volume. Another guy in this tier that I want to call out is Kyren Williams. I have him 4 spots ahead of expert consensus rankings. Good matchup, amazing role, and then Devin Achane. If we can get him an offensive line that can block and a quarterback that can get him the ball, this is a pretty sweet spot against Tennessee. So I like those 3 guys. I'll pause. Aiden, anyone here in this tier speak in your mind or somebody you maybe disagree with?
Yeah, another Saquon absolute monster spot. The dude is a man on fire. Tampa Bay defense is fine. Tyler Beatty, just rushed for 70 yards on them. Like, I don't see why this guy doesn't easily hit home on 100+ yards, probably scores at least once again. So, like what feels like the best role in fantasy football right now. He looks absolutely incredible. And then you make a good point with Kyren too. He's going to probably touch the ball 20+ times. He falls into the end zone, which feels like every single week on a 1-yard touchdown. So, yeah, I don't think they'll be able to pass the ball. It could just be the Kyren show, which, the Bears have been more susceptible to the run than the pass this year. So, no, I like both of those guys.
Keegan, is Achane going to bounce back this week? What do you think?
Well, as I've discussed on the wide receiver episode, I got a healthy dose of Dolphins all 22 today in the middle of the day, and it wasn't pretty for the run game. The problem with Achane being ranked this high for me personally is with no pass game, like Seattle just did not respect Skylar Thompson. Like Devon Achane had no outs. Like they were in the backfield before he was getting the ball handed off to him. It was really rough for the Dolphins run game. And on the plays where he was getting open, like I sent you guys that clip of Achane getting motioned out on like a little halfback wheel route, and Skylar Thompson's just not even looking his way. I mean, all three wide receivers plus Achane were on the left side of the field, and he drops back with his eyes on the right side of the field with not a single Dolphin over there. So he's just not seeing the board clearly, I guess. It's not a good spot for Achane right now. Like this ranking scares me. I will say though, like the Bijan, Kyren, and Saquon, like they are all three of the top 4 highest projected yardage totals on Underdog's Pick'em book right now, with Saquon leading the way 78.5, Bijan 75.5, Kyren 75.5. Like Bijan's projected for almost 110 yards total on Underdog this week. So love that spot for him. He just needs to score touchdowns. He has like 60% of Atlanta's rushing opportunities inside the 5. And the problem is that's only 3 attempts. So we've got to run the ball in the damn red zone, Atlanta.
What's going on with Bijan? Because he's passing the eye test, but the fantasy points, like he's supposed to have the 8th best role in fantasies, the RB18. I know you're talking about touchdowns, but
that's the thing.
More.
Like the yardage is there, the plays are there. We just need him to score. Like getting 60% of your team's like opportunities that close to scoring, and it only being 3 opportunities is a massive problem. It's not like Algier is stealing it from them. Like they just need to run the damn ball in the end zone, and they need to be near the end zone.
No, yeah, I get it. Maybe this is the week. Maybe this is the blow up Bijan eruption spot.
I love the tier, but I'm like out on Achane this week. Like I would honestly have Jordan Mason, like not where Achane is, but maybe closer to the top 5 than Achane.
Just PPR rankings. It's he doesn't catch the ball. They don't throw it to him. So it's a good spot, but
it's fair.
Yeah, so I and we'll jump to the next tier here. Running backs 6 through 12. I've got Jordan Mason here at 6, Derrick Henry at 7, Kamara at 8, Aaron Jones at 9, Brian Robinson at 11, and James Conner at 12. So I love Aaron Jones here. He's been a top 10 back in both production and expected fantasy point usage. He's got a top 15 matchup this week, and it is a revenge spot for Aaron Jones. I love revenge games. Revenge narratives are always fun. He's playing some of his best ball he's played in a while now. Ultra efficient back. Honestly, one of the better signings of the offseason so far with Aaron Jones. So I like this spot for him, and I love this spot for Derrick Henry. Buffalo has not been necessarily been taken to task by the running game so far this year, mainly due to the fact that they've been blowing everybody out. I think that Derrick Henry can take advantage of that lighter front, and I'm expecting a big game from the King. So I really like those 2 guys along with Brian Robinson. Anyone else, guys, in this tier? Aiden, anyone speaking your language?
Yeah, I just want to double down on the Derrick Henry. Tractor Cito's kind of picking up early.
Did you start your ladder bet last week?
No, I should have, but I hope one of our listeners did it. For those of you not familiar, I said I would be betting from week 1 through the end of the year, ladder bet, that Derrick Henry would score every game, and we are on leg 4 going into week 4. So Tractor Cito looks phenomenal. The guy moves in slow motion, but just runs people over. It's truly, truly poetry on turf. So that's the only one I want to call out, the Tractor Cito.
Keegan?
James Conner this week. I see the notes. Must start. We're looking at like 85, 90 total implied yards on the Underdog book between receiving and rushing for James Conner. I mean, just keep plugging him in the lineup until he's not on the field anymore, because that guy is automatic right now in fantasy. I love the role. Love this spot he's in. Yeah, him and Jordan Mason are probably my favorite plays of this tier.
Yeah, I don't have him at top 8 like ECR does, but I still have him top 12. So nothing against Connor. I think he's still a top 12 play this week. I like this tier a ton. I'm
Is
very
Aaron
excited.
Jones getting the bump because of the revenge game? Because Green Bay's been pretty stingy against, rushing opponents so far. They have let up 5 touchdowns, which is like kind of influenced how many points per game that I'm looking at their receiving. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns on the ground this year in Green Bay. So
I think it's revenge. He's also just been really good.
I think
he has been good, but I just wanted to make sure it was part of the revenge narrative.
KOC just has those boys humming too. Like that offense is nice.
So fun to watch.
So fun.
Tier 3 here. This is an interesting one. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs at 13, Jonathan Taylor 14, David Montgomery 15, James Cook 16, Zach Moss 17, and the return of Kenneth Walker. Fingers crossed. I don't know if did he practice today? I haven't had a chance to look because Seattle for some reason only practices at like 6 p.m. at night. So I have no idea when they release these practice reports, and they're playing on Monday. I'm not sure if he practiced.
Kenneth Walker took the field. Took the field.
Oh, he's back. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's big time. It's big time.
Yeah, we're very excited about K9, the man, the myth. Okay, so this tier here, I've got some big stands. I've got K9 up 47 spots against expert consensus rankings. I have a feeling that once the ECR rankers realize Kenneth Walker's going to play, he'll probably settle into somewhere in this range. I'm worried about JT this week. Pittsburgh has been amazing against running backs. JT finally had his big pop week, top 12 in terms of production, top 16 in terms of role. I just don't know how he gets there against Pittsburgh. It's probably going to be touchdowns and for some reason starts catching a ton of passes, which hasn't necessarily been his forte so far this season. So I have him down 8 spots. And then again, I got to highlight Zach Moss. This is a pretty amazing matchup against Carolina. Moss has been the clear workhorse to start this season. Total rug pull from Zach Taylor. Who would have guessed that he would rug pull on Chase Brown? Not me. This is a fun tier though. And James Cook, for some reason, should be higher, but I don't know. Guys, what are your thoughts on this tier? Aiden, is anyone speaking your language here?
Yeah, I think just looking at it, this is like brutal matchups across the board plus Zach Moss. So proceed with caution for everyone not named Zach Moss here. These are all guys that are going to have, pretty big roles in their offense regardless. I'm not nearly as worried about the Detroit guys. We talked about it a little bit. Monday night game in Detroit, under that dome, it just feels like it's points galore. So not too worried about them. I think they're going to move the ball just fine. And Seattle, like we kind of mentioned in the wide receiver episode, they haven't really played very good opponents. So they are 26th against it. I see that coming down. Then I love Zach Moss. I think it's pretty clear that this is his backfield. We talked about it a little bit last week in the running back episode. He just logged another game over 75% snaps in that backfield. Chase Brown is becoming close to droppable. I know he actually had a pretty good performance in very limited touches, but this is Zach Moss's backfield. Awesome matchup against Carolina. I bet he scores again and finishes firmly in this running back 2 range.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Brown's a handcuff at this point, right? So hold on to him in case
you're not
something
playing
happens
him.
to Moss. Keegan, there's a lot going on here. It's Detroit guys. There's James Cook. You got any thoughts on this tier?
Every week, your Montgomery and Gibbs rankings get closer and closer, closer and closer. Love what David Montgomery is doing this year. I mean, the guy is just such a good all-around running back. It feels like, I'm sure everyone's seen that graphic, right? Where it's just like David Montgomery's path to a touchdown. It's just a straight line, and it's Jahmyr Gibbs' path to a touchdown. It's all wonky. Yeah. I like that you have him so close. Seattle, is the defense legit? They're about middle of the road, and total rushing yards allowed this year on the season. They have only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns on the year, but if anybody could score a touchdown on them in the rushing game, I think it could be Detroit. So looking forward to seeing how they kind of navigate that matchup. But yeah, I just want to call out that Montgomery and Gibbs are a lot closer than people wanted to think in the beginning of the year. They never should have been that far apart in ADP and drafts.
Bingo.
We'll see. We'll see.
What do you mean? Last year, I could go off last year too. It's the same thing last year. I mean, he had 1,200 yards, and obviously Gibbs had a good year too. But
Gibbs took over at the end of last year. But we'll see. They're just the best 2-headed monster in the game, though.
I think they are right now
easily.
It's unbelievable. I hope Breece and Braylon become that because I think they could.
People are talking. Not me. But people are talking.
I think they could. I think they easily could. So, okay, I get, again, another guy I wanted to call out here is James Cook. So I don't want to get – this is the one that makes me nervous because this is the running back 6 that I have at 16, and he's just been an efficiency monster. I don't know. This one could burn me. James Cook's been one of the best players in football through 3 weeks of the season. So we'll see how this one goes. No pressure here. RTM score. No pressure on the Jimbo Cook ranking. Okay, so tier 4 here. I've got running backs 19 through 28. Devin Singletary at 19. Rhamondre Stevenson at 20. Tony Pollard 21. Travis Etienne 22. Josh Jacobs 23. Jerome Ford 24. Cam Akers 25. Chuba Hubbard 26. Najee Harris 27. Roschon Johnson 28.
Man.
We're living a little wild out here. Okay, so when I'm looking at this tier in particular, some people that I have stances on, I'm down on Travis Etienne. I'm down on Josh Jacobs. I'm down on Chuba Hubbard. And I'm pretty down on Najee Harris, but I'm up on Motor Devin Singletary, and I'm up on Rhamondre Stevenson. Devin Singletary's playing right now. And he's just good. I don't know what to tell you guys. And this is a good matchup against Dallas. And then Rhamondre, our rush defense, ours, like I'm on the team. The Niners rush defense is not good. They're getting pushed around. So I like Rhamondre. The Mondresance took a pretty massive stop back to the Stone Ages, but I think the Mondresance is very firmly back on the menu. So I like Rhamondre this week. And guys, I just don't get the Travis Etienne thing. Again, the usage is good, but his points per game has not been good. I don't know why you'd want to start the running back on this team, but I don't know, guys. Any thoughts on this tier? It's pretty wide. There's a lot of directions that you can go, Keegan.
A lot of underperforming negative or positive regression candidates in this territory. Najee, you got to score a touchdown this week. I mean, nobody's touching the ball more than you at the running back position. Jaylen Warren might be out this week. He's got to score against the Colts. Josh Jacobs will probably, if Malik Willis plays, Josh Jacobs will especially be relied on again, like that we talked about the Brian Flores defense on the last episode. It's a lot to deal with. So I like Jacobs this week. I don't want to use the word love, but if there were a week for Najee Harris to score, it would be this week. And then even Stevenson is, underperforming regression candidate right now. So even Stevenson.
I liked that. That's good stuff. This is the touchdown or bust crew, kind of, or like 5 or 6 receptions crew. Aiden, any thoughts on this tier?
Yeah, I like the posse. I like Anthony Pollard to return to fantasy relevance this week. I think, absolute cush matchup against Miami. This is a game they really should win. Miami, is so dysfunctional right now with the QB play. So I like Pollard as long as they stay in like a neutral game script and don't get like the break speed off of them, which would be pretty impressive against Snoop Huntley. I think Anthony Pollard has another good game. Was going to mention Najee too. Indy defense is a lot worse than their ranking shows. If it wasn't for like DeAndre Swift having like 12 total yards last week, they were a bottom 3 unit, I think, going into it. So the Colts defense is actually pretty crap. I like Najee, and then excited to see what Rojo does. They've made it pretty clear. Maybe they're bluffing. It'd be funny if they were just fucking with us. And
dude, they even posted a photo of him on Twitter today. Like, it's like, like game week or whatever. And they post like pictures of like 3 mainstay players. Yeah. Like it was Roschon in the pictures today. So read the tea leaves. Yeah. Who knows?
One thing I did read, which would be a nightmare, is the rumor is Khalil will be the goal line back. Rojo's going to be featured. And then DeAndre Swift will be like filling up water cups. So like if Rojo does all the work and Khalil just like punches it in, it'd be a bit of a bummer because,
you say nightmare, I say dream come true.
I say
my
small
36%
to the moon.
Yeah,
so,
shout out to my 36% Herbert exposure.
I'd take a defined role in this backfield because Shane Waldron is just changing it up every week. It's like, bro,
I think each week though he's going to fix one thing. I said like last week, Komet came back. This week we get the running back figured out, and then next week no more Carter, no more Gerald Everett, and we run a real offense, and it's like to the moon. So. 1 week at a time. Just got to be patient.
Yeah, it's the Little Yachty Drake meme. It's like Cole Kmet. Oh, this guy's amazing. Who would have ever thought that we could throw it to this guy? He's just on our team. I do like Roschon Johnson this week. I'm a big
I do too.
proponent of the year 2 running back theory, and my man is firmly in the second year of his career. So give me all the Rojo shares. And then Cam Akers, got to talk about it. Game
Yeah.
script really hurt him last week. He's positioned to be the bell cow again in week 4. Cush matchup, a Cush matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have to imagine that Cam Akers has a much better showing. He still got in the end zone last week if you had the fortitude to start him. He's a pretty solid injury replacement if you've just been kind of cobbling it together. So I'm a big fan of Cam Akers this week as a top 25 player.
I got to be honest, I
Tier 4.
completely just read over the Cam Akers thing. I know you told us earlier that you had him pretty ranked high, and I just breezed right over the fact that Cam Akers is in this.
I had him in my brain and then forgot as I got on my monologue. But no, I liked him in a good positive game script.
Okay, so tier 5 that I've got here, right? Yeah, this is tier 5. Running backs 29 through 38. I've got J.K. Dobbins at 29, Shad White at 30, Zack Charbonnet 31, Justice Hill 32, Rico Dowdle 33, DeAndre Swift 34, Alexander Mattison 35, Braylon Allen 36, Zeke Elliott 37, Javonte Williams 38. So this tier, kind of a mess. I think Dobbins clearly is the most startable option here. Running back 14 right now in fantasy, dunking on efficiency, rough matchup against KC. What's the quarterback situation? Kind of a hot mess, but I think Dobbins is playable. Dowdle just got in the end zone. I don't think Zeke's even played. So it's funny when we do these rankings and we're talking about these guys.
He's got one carry for 5 yards right now.
There it is. Okay, there we go, Zeke. Well done. Guys that I have big stands, though, on this tier, I have Justice Hill way up. Pretty good role, consistent role, decent matchup. And Alexander Mattison. This guy he's like the starting running back. So I think, again, you'd be in a tough spot to start Mattison, but I think I'd rather play him over Jahmyr White. So this tier, guys, is kind of a sad tier. Some people that we had high hopes for kind of falling down the board. Any thoughts on these guys before we wrap it up here with the last tier?
The Justice Hill call out is actually, I think, good because, I mean, we know Buffalo is a really tough defense, and Justice Hill is definitely been the go-to receiving back. Like Derrick Henry's in, they're running the damn ball. And if Justice Hill's in, they're passing the ball, but it's not really like being sniffed out by defenses because Lamar is so good. So could be a sneaky flex play week for Justice Hill. And Braylon Allen being relevant, even with Breece Hall's usage, it is crazy to me. Like Underdog has Braylon Allen like at 34.5 rushing yards and 10.5 receiving yards, like almost 45 yards total. Like those 2 running back sets they run are pretty frisky. So I'm not saying you should flex him quite yet, but it's just interesting to see where he's at in ECR ranks, R ranks, like this early in the year.
And it's very interesting to see what is going to happen with Zack Charbonnet with K9 back. Zack Charbonnet was the water boy when Kenneth Walker was playing in week 1. Charbonnet was the bell cow for over the past 2 weeks, was inefficient in week 2, great in week 3. Very curious to see how this shakes out. If it just becomes the Kenneth Walker show again, you have to imagine they mix in Charbo, but Walker's
They should
better.
ease him back. It'd be like this guy gets hurt what feels like at least once or twice a year. It'd be wise to mix in some Sharp.
All right, guys, this is the last tier. This is the tier that's sitting on your bench you can't drop because it's the injury away tier that we got here.
Sandors.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's where I saw that. I was like, is that Miles Sandors?
He hasn't been bad, boys. I mean, that's just
he scored a touchdown last week, but everybody scored a touchdown for Carolina last week.
Yeah, they did. So, okay, running backs 39 through 47. I got Tyjae Spears, Emmanuel Wilson, Bucky Irving, Miles Sanders, Chase Brown, Jahmyr White, Carson Steele, Ty Chandler, Antonio Gibson. I don't know, guys. And I mean, like, Bucky's hurt potentially.
That sucks. That really sucked. That's pretty sucky. Am I right?
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of interest in Carson Steele, even though it sounds like he's the guy. Like,
I love that Andy Reid said he gives you an honest down. Like, that is just such football guy. Yeah,
it's football guy stuff.
If you have to start any one of these guys, like, I think to your point, but I think he's hurt now. I think it would have to be Carson Steele because I think he's their goal line back. And you've got to hope he stumbles in and gets you 12 points with a touchdown or something. So brutal. Yeah, brutal if you got to start anyone here.
Yeah, Carson Steele would be my pick out of this group. 40 and a half yards on the Underdog book right now, which is a lot more than I thought. I mean,
Yeah,
That's more than Sade. That's more than Swift. More than
I
everybody.
am
in this
interested
tier.
to see the Kareem Hunt role as well. Actually, worth mentioning in Kansas City. It'd be hilarious if in the year 2024, like Kareem Hunt regains the lead back role in Kansas City.
Have you seen the photoshops of him in the Chiefs jerseys? It's crazy how fast people cook those up.
Dude, it looks spot on.
I think if I had to start anyone in this tier, it'd be Ty. Like, he has a clear defined role. He's going to get some targets. Miami's a soft defense, so I would. It wouldn't be great, but you'd get like probably
That'd
7
probably be my
points.
second pick. And if you had, those are really the only two you can pick, honestly.
If Bucky plays, you could play Bucky, but that's rough.
I'm kind of just counting on him not. The hamstring on Thursday is pretty much the red ring of death on your Xbox. It's over, pal.
Oh no. Oh, that's too good.
Your references are insane, bro.
Oh, dude, that's so
Your
good.
references are out of control.
You just gotta blow on it. You just gotta blow on it, dude.
Blow on it.
Unplug it.
Put a cool towel on it.
Let it sit. Plug it back in.
I'll tell you what, the cool towel did not work for my red ring of death. That's for sure.
That's so good. Okay, that's it. That's 47 running backs. That's 6 tiers. We've gone through the entire slate. I'm excited to see Achane. Does Achane bounce back in a good matchup? And does Kyren Williams keep his dominance up? Before we get out of here, Aiden, is there like one guy you're excited to see play this week from the running back position?
I'm excited to see James Conner.
Okay.
We will not quit James Conner. It just feels like they just won there, and it's are we calling him that? Yeah, no, it's going to be a ton of points in Washington. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm banking on a top 10 finish there.
Keegan, who's speaking your language? Is it Rojo? Is that who you're?
No, I thought he was going to say Roschon Johnson, but
no, I took the bias hat off.
No, I've just been enjoying the Saquon Barkley renaissance in a good offense.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm definitely going to have fun paying attention to that this weekend.
The Saquon-assance has been
Saquon-assance. That's way better than the Rhamondre-assance.
because
he was never having a renaissance. He had one good week.
Yeah, well, yeah, like again, Saquon was just like it's very appropriate to have the rebirth of Saquon Barkley because that's essentially what Renaissance means. So, and I've already tooled out by being a douche and explaining what Renaissance means. So I think that'll be it for the Regression to the Mean podcast when I'm speaking about Latin. Hopefully, everyone here, you win your matchups, and if you don't, you can't blame us legally. You can't do it. So enjoy your weekends, enjoy your Sundays, and again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time.